Every day, you probably have already done it at least once today. You can't get around it. And what are we talking about? We're talking about conversations this week. They make up the bulk of our interpersonal relationships and how we learn about other people. The levels of disclosure within conversations tell a lot about the depth and intimacy of the relationship that we're in. However, do you truly understand what makes you either an effective or ineffective conversationalist? Do you know what you could be doing to improve your everyday conversations? Do you truly understand what's going on in different types of conversations and how to structure your own contributions to that conversation based on its purpose? Well, hopefully we answer some of these questions as we learn more about the art of having a conversation. We'll begin first with understanding a little bit more about what a conversation is. What exactly constitutes a conversation? When you wave hi to a friend across campus, does that constitute a conversation? When you say, hey, how you doing? Great, fine, I'll talk to you later, does that really constitute a conversation? Well, when we define conversations, we usually look at them as being locally managed and that they're interpersonal encounters with another person, and it's local in the sense that it happens in an individual space and time. There's sequential interchanges of thought and feelings, and so they happen in a particular order as they unfold. And they're between two or more people that are interactive, and they're largely extemporaneous, meaning that there's not a lot of pre-planning that goes into a conversation. You might have planned out what you wanted to say if it's a very important conversation, maybe like telling your parents you didn't score as high as you thought you would on a certain test, or telling a friend some bad news. You may think long and hard about what you want to say beforehand, but you can't anticipate the other person's response, and so as you adapt, it's going to be extemporaneous within that situation. There are a number of different types of conversations, and you may not have really recognized or picked up on the fact that in different contexts with different people for different reasons, you're going to have a different type of conversation, and the talk that goes on is going to be different. So let's look at some of the basic types of conversations. In Stewart's text in 2009, he identifies the 4 Ds of conversation: debate, discussion, dialogue, and deliberation. Now, debate is a competitive style of conversing with another person. It's focused on really yourself. It's egocentric, we might say, in that you are trying to win an argument, and you're doing whatever it takes basically to persuade the other person that you're right, and so you have an ego involvement in it in order to win, and so it has a win-lose orientation towards it. There's a power struggle that's going on in the sense that one person wants to achieve power over the other so that their ideas are salient. In a discussion, this is more collaborative, and we drop the competitive focus, and rather than it being more focused on self, it's more focused on the unfolding interaction. However, discussion still is going to reflect any inequalities of power differences between the two people. So, for example, if you are having a discussion with a professor about a grade or about an upcoming exam that you have or a very important assignment, through the entire discussion, you're probably going to be very cognizant that the professor has authority over you in that class, and they're ultimately going to be making decisions in regard to your grade. Likewise at work, when you talk to maybe a manager or someone in the hierarchy above you, you're cognizant that that person, well, there's a power difference between you and them. So while you may be able to discuss some things with them, you may also feel like you're not as free as you were if it were a peer to discuss things with them. Dialogue, though, on the other hand, really flattens out these power differences where you don't feel there's a hierarchy. There's a freedom to contribute in a way where there's no sort of authority figure looming over you. So in dialogue, it's an equitable interaction. Power differences are going to be eliminated. And so there's a freedom within that. You have an us orientation because you're creating new meaning with the other person, and it's very collaborative in nature. Then deliberation is focused more on decision making. And now, in most conversations, which would you prefer? A debate, a discussion, a dialogue, and in some cases you need deliberation because you need to make decisions about something that's up and coming. But which would you prefer, to debate somebody, to discuss something with another person, or to have a dialogue on equal footing? I think most of us would prefer a dialogue. Most of us would prefer a dialogue in a variety of settings, whether it be with a peer, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be within our community, whether it be about topics such as politics, the economy, our grades, whatever it happens to be. We're probably going to be more interested in holding a dialogue with somebody else. Most conversations would benefit from a more dialogic approach, because then you would get people that would be free to express themselves, their ideas, and you would get better quality of interaction when someone doesn't feel like they have to hold back because of perceived power differences, or because they perceive the other person to have a win-lose orientation and not really focused on the interest of the conversation at hand, only focused on themselves.